Good morning, and thank you for inviting me here today to share. And as an ordained minister with Centers for Spiritual Living, I study the human condition. I teach people how to think, not what to think. And I also love to teach about designing the lives that we love to live. It's my passion. This teaching is powerful and life-changing beyond words. I have a question. How does a parent thrive after the death of their child? One December morning, the police came to the door of my brother's house, where I'd been working and living for 2 months, to tell me that my daughter Jessie had died from a drug overdose. All I could think about was, how did the police find me? Nobody really knew that I was in Vancouver, as I'd moved to Calgary 6 months earlier. And the next question was, what about her partner? Was he dead too? They were together for about 10 years. No, he had survived, but I was crushed. How could I be able to live after losing my beloved child? Of course, it was devastating for our family, and Jessie had been struggling with addiction for 15 years. And I always thought that she would make it one day, like many other people I'd seen. But no, she didn't find a higher power or join programs to relieve her addictions and to live on a prosperous life. This had always been a fascinating question to me, was how do people change their minds to stop drinking, drugging, gambling, shopping, eating, whatever it is that we have. And they want to stop, but they just feel so powerless to make those changes. Why do some people make it and others don't? Interesting. Jessie was living in Edmonton at the time, and I was in Vancouver, and I had just been fired from a job 2 days earlier. I know. I hadn't been fired since I was 15. I was like, oh my God. Anyways, we were all planning to meet in Kelowna for 5 days, not to plan a funeral, but to meet for Christmas. Honestly, I was so numb to the news. I decided that I didn't want to go to Edmonton to see her body one last time. It was a tough and agonizing decision for me, but I wanted to remember as I knew her as a beautiful person. I always knew the truth of who she was, and she's not a ravaged drug addict in my mind. 2 days later, I flew to Kelowna to be with my son for Christmas to plan her celebration and figure out my next steps. The week passed in a blur. Many people came out to share their condolences and love, and it was a blur for me. It was overwhelming as well. My son began preparations to move to Summerland to share a house with his father and his stepmom, and I returned to Calgary to pick up the pieces of my life. Every morning for the next 6 or 7 months, it was a decision. Do I kill myself today or do I live? I didn't really want to die. I just didn't want to be alive. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I did put my good face on and continued to show up to the shreds of my life at that point. And I went to this Calgary center and I acted like nothing had happened. I went shopping for food and going for walks, and every night I cried myself to sleep. I went to a counselor actually to help me, and she knew I was a minister, and her question to me was, what would you counsel someone who is going through what you're going through? Oh, I felt the rage boiling up inside of me. You don't understand, right? It's like, I can't bear this loss. It was just so much. And I didn't go back to see her. I didn't understand how I could create a life that I would love to live. I lost any empathy for others. I couldn't bear their pain. I couldn't bear to hear it or see it. Mine was so much greater than theirs. I was suffering. But along the way, there was a number of spiritual coincidences, if we believed in coincidence. I don't. The very morning I got fired from that job, I had done a process wheel. A process wheel is where you stick like what you want, what you desire in the middle of a thing, and then draw lines around the circle and then fill in those lines. And so mine was about being a minister. I just 2015 graduated, and I wanted to have a center. So it was like building spiritual community, love and affection and outreach and consciousness and all that stuff. And I'd done that process and then went off to this job. I knew the job wasn't a fit for me. I felt frozen what to do because I'm not a quitter. I stay for a long time despite pain. I laughed, though, not that day, but a few days later when I realized that I actually had manifested that, with the help of somebody. The second spiritual thing was I was in Vancouver where my three brothers lived, and they all came over that day when I got the news and the police had come to the door. So I was safe. And my Calgary home where I lived, I was renting, was with my best friend and her family. They had lost their son 4 years earlier at 15 to cancer. And so they were able to give me the grace to process my grief my way. They held the high watch for me and comforted me by simply allowing me to talk or not, to find my own way back to living. Number 4, the family cat that was in the house, Molly, had adopted me when I moved in. As soon as I set my bed up, she moved onto it and didn't leave. It was like she found me and I found her. She was an angel in disguise for me. She was so affectionate and warm and cuddly. We played together. She'd sleep right here beside my head. I just felt I'm a cat lady. You know that, right? When I moved out a year later, they said, you better take her with you. I was her person and she was my spirit animal. And the next thing was I read Man's Search for Meaning during those months living in the basement by Viktor Frankl. Oh, such a powerful book. I highly recommend it. Each person was stripped. It was how he survived in the concentration camps. So each person there had been stripped of everything. Their clothes were taken. They were given rags to wear, everything. They lost it all. No matter how much they tried to hide it or squirrel away something, it was always found and taken. But the only thing they were left was their minds. And Frankl studied the mental states of himself and the fellow prisoners, and he had so many insights to the inner workings of our minds, the human suffering, and how humans can rise above all conditions placed upon them by using their minds. And I paraphrase the line that helped me so deeply when I read that book. I can't find it again, but it's somewhere in there, but this is the paraphrase. No matter the cause of the suffering fills the complete body vessel. And that was so powerful for me. That concept freed me to be compassionate again with other people, no longer feeling disdain for them. Their suffering filled them completely as mine had filled me. And the last thing, a year later, the following Christmas, I'd gone back to Kelowna and to reunite with Patrick, and one of my brothers came up as well, and we went and stayed at a friend's house in the mountains. We were surrounded by snow, and she and her and I went out for a walk in the woods. It was so peaceful and serene. It was absolutely beautiful. And along the way, I saw a sign tacked to a tree along a trail in the middle of nowhere, and it said, Jesse's Tree, or Jesse's Road. And I was like, oh my God, she's with me. It was so beautiful. And we ended up moving into a field, and I was sort of dragging along behind my friend, and I weighed over 300 pounds at that time. And then I don't know how I fell down, but I fell down in the middle of the snowy field, and it was deep, and I was exhausted, and I was tired of pretending I was okay. I couldn't get up, and that was the thing. I just couldn't get up. I tried, I struggled, and my friend carried on, not really seeing what was happening to me. Suddenly, I was utterly defeated. I completely surrendered to the pain and the grief in my heart. I felt spirit all around me. I was so comforted, supported, and safe in that very moment. Electrified, I instantly knew that all was well. I was alive, and I was so deeply and profoundly grateful that I had had the greatest gift of being a mother to my daughter, Jessie, for her time on earth. She was free, and so was I. I was deeply comforted by the infinite. I called my friend to help me up, and I felt reborn. And a few days later, I decided to, and that was the end of 2016, I decided to permanently relocate to Calgary after renting there for a year. My son and I decided he would move to Calgary. It didn't work out. We're living with his stepmom mostly and his dad. And we wanted to be together. It was sad, right? We wanted to be together. So we were going to share a house. A bit more on that later. But what does this have to do with planting spiritual seeds and nurturing growth? Well, we have a spiritual toolkit at our side. Here's a definition. Spiritual toolkit is a metaphorical collection of practices, beliefs, habits, and resources that we use to maintain inner peace, navigate life's challenges, and to connect to a higher power or our deeper selves. So here are 4 spiritual tools that I consistently use in my life, and I'd like to share them with you. First is my imagination. It's the playground of creativity. This is where I start. I use my imagination to design what's next for me. I close my eyes and begin to imagine what I'd like to experience, to know, or to be. I am mindful of Spirit's presence, and I go to my inner source of all things. I ask for inspiration and guidance, especially if I'm at a loss as what's mine to do next. I always get inspired. And here's what Charles Fillmore says. Imagination gives the man the ability to project himself through time and space and rise above all limitations. Oh, I love that. With the imaginative process completed, I write my words down and plant them into the mind or the soil. Remember, I was in Kelowna with my son. Well, here's what we did to find our seeds to plant. We sat down, closed our eyes, and began to imagine the ideal house, which qualities each of us wanted. And this was about a 10-minute process that we did together. Mind you, he's not spiritual at all, but I insisted. We named the qualities that were important to us in a home, mostly those feelings. What would it feel like? We wanted a warm, welcoming sanctuary, light, spacious, green space, fenced yard, great location, easy access, good parking, and roomy bedrooms for 4 people. I jotted down all the features on the back of an envelope, put it in my purse, and left and went back to Calgary. And we actually never really looked at the list again because we knew already it was clearly set in our minds, a sanctuary to rebuild our lives. This is from Charles Fillmore. Words are also seeds, and when dropped into the invisible substance, they grow and bring forth after their kind. So beautiful. Second tool is visualization, and I call this the mind-changing activity. While I didn't do this activity to find my house, I've used it so many other times in my life. I wanted to share 2 early experiences I had while still in Kelowna of visualization and my results. So for about 4 to 6 months, every morning I'd be in my bathroom as my day started, and I would visualize myself swimming in an ocean. I was like swimming in the ocean. I love swimming. It's my favorite thing. And it's a warm, sunny ocean, and it's a beautiful day. The water's blue, and there's little waves around me. And then I see myself pulling myself out of the water and up onto a sailboat, and sleek, beautiful me. And next I saw myself on a ski hill. I'd wanted to go skiing, and so I was up there on the ski hill, and I'm shooshing down the mountain, and I'm having a good day. I'm feeling free in the beautiful snow. And in both instances, I actually did those motions. I physically did the motions, felt it, and I saw myself doing those things. And I only did this for like a minute or 2 minutes at the most. And then I would just get on, put it out of my mind, get on with my day. And this is what Charles Fillmore had to say. Every man who accomplishes things first sees in his mind what he wishes to do, puts away all doubt. It makes no difference how small or large the thing you want to do may be. If you have unlimited confidence in your ability to do it, you will do. At our Kissing Cousins, as you know, Centers for Spiritual Living, this is a common idea with us too. Everything is created twice, once in mind and once in form. So the third tool I wanted to present today was absolute knowing. Absolute certainty that my word is already manifest, and the law or creative substance is the operator of the output. My task is to hold fast knowing that my word has power. It is implanted in the soil, that creative substance. I'm not to dig it up, leave it alone, and nor am I to be discouraged. Who knows how long it's going to take? My job is to become aligned with my vision. As Charles Fillmore said, I got some great quotes. I just thought this is so fun preparing for this. There is an invisible thought stuff on which the mind acts, making things through the operation of a law, not yet fully understood by man. Every thought moves upon this invisible substance in increasing or diminishing degree. When we praise the richness and fullness of God, this thought stuff tremendously increases in our mental atmosphere. It reflects into everything that our mind and our hands touch. Beautiful. Increasing or diminishing degree. This thought stuff is a plasticity, and it accepts the imprint of our thought, and the law acts upon it, making it into form. So the seed is our thought, the soil is the law, and the plant is the outcome. And I ask myself all the time, Lesley, what are your thoughts? Are they increasing or diminishing? So the fourth one I wanted to share was instead of going, is a future forecast. And I call this, and those become a future memory. So instead of going back to how it used to be, I have trained myself to use my desired future as if it already exists. I access my future memories of being what I designed and created. I know the infinite is working on it, and my job is to align myself, not to figure it out. I don't know how it's going to outpicture. I don't. Okay, Lesley, what about the results to all this stuff you've been doing? Well, swimming, sometime later, I don't remember now, it was quite a while ago, I was invited to spend 2 weeks in Mexico on my brother's sailboat. How fast can you say yes and book a flight? Yeah, I did. Within 2 days of arriving, guess what happened? I was swimming in the blue ocean, and the light waves were around me, beautiful sunny day. And when I was finished, I found myself pulling my body out of the ocean on the exact same ladder that I had visualized. I didn't know what they had on their boat for a ladder. It was amazing. I got God bumps all over me. It was so powerful. And skiing, a same thing happened. I decided to go skiing with my son. We hunted for boots and skis and poles. I was really nervous though, because it had been 20 years since I'd been up on a set of skis. And I had more weight on my body, and I didn't want to go, but he was so excited. So I put all those limitations aside, got assembled, and I skied to the ski lift, and I got off, and I didn't fall. So this was really good. And my first run down the mountain was so exhilarating. I was skiing along, and then all of a sudden, exactly, it was like deja vu, but it was my future memory. And I could feel my legs and my body and hear the snow and the shooshing exactly how I had imagined for all those months in my bathroom. Oh my God, it was extraordinary. Who knew? It was so wonderful. It was a brilliant demonstration of the power of mind and spirit and acting on this teaching, not just constantly thinking about it, but actually acting on it. The new home, within 6 months, we found the perfect home. And why 4 people? Because my bestie and her daughter needed a home too. We moved together in, and her daughter graduated and launched her career in broadcasting, moved out after about a year to follow her dreams. And then 3 years ago, my son decided that he designed his life to spend winters in Mexico, where he met and married the love of his life, and summers are in a trailer up in a Alberta campsite. And he's got a cloud-based biz, so it's perfect for him. And my bestie and I have been living there for the last 9 years. We have a really good time. So in summary, there's 4 spiritual tools that I'm providing today that design a life that you love to live. Imagination, the playground of creativity. Visualization, the mind-changing activity. Absolute knowing, certainty that your words manifest. Yes. Future forecast. Your future becomes a memory that you can thrive on. The question was, how does a parent thrive after the death of their child? By finding meaning in their life. I found meaning knowing that I was the best mom to Jessie during her life. I discovered the infinite power of God, which repeatedly expressed through my ordeal in so many ways, big and small. I took that infinite intelligence, invited it to be the foundation of a new accounting business that I founded with a partner, co-created it. And after 6.5 years, we sold it last September. The growth of that business is another story for another time. I now enjoy time, money, freedom. I'm dancing, I travel, I sing, I work out, I paint, I play with my friends and family. I sowed my seeds, and I'm living a life that I truly love to live. My Creator continues to inspire me and delight me. Thank you. Namaste. Many blessings to all of you.